Welcome to Zombie Strains, the podcast where we watch all of the zombie movies in order. This week, we travel back in the Zombie Strains time machine to catch a movie we missed, 1943's The Mad Ghoul.
You know, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them, zombies or something?
Zombie.
What's a zombie?
Just what is a zombie?
Well, a zombie, there's, Mr. Bill is... The living dead.
They are the living dead.
Get into zombies.
He's a zombie. Because a zombie has no will of his own.
It's an army of zombies no armies could stand.
What is wrong? What is wrong?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm John.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brad.
Hey, guys. How did you enjoy The Mad Ghoul?
Your introductory, your intro there had more emotion and pathos than this entire film.
Yes, we're back in the 40s. It's a very different vibe. The emotions and naturalistic acting isn't a thing yet. So, yeah, it's very different. But I will say I did kind of enjoy this movie, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, same.
Before we dive in, does anyone have any zombie or show related media or notes or anything they've been consuming?
I've been watching the show Pluribus.
Yes.
And that, I hesitate to say it's a zombie show exactly. It has some extremely clear ties to the zombie genre. So without spoiling anything, I'll refer our listeners to that show.
Yeah, and you wrote a great essay about it on your Substack.
Yes.
Which is?
andyrao.substack.com.
Yes, but it's got a name. It
does. It's called Fortress of Regrets, which is
Regrets.
Like a deep cut for nerds out there. Probably even nerdier than Brad and John, both of you.
All right. Well, don't spoil it for people. You can tell us later. They'll have to figure it out. Yes. But you had a great article about Pluribus and the sort of nature of the show. And I thought it was really interesting. So people should check that out. It'll be in the show notes. Thank
you. And what about you, John?
Well, thanks to both of you, I've been doing two things. One is Brad recommended a podcast called The Plot Thickens from Turner Classic Movies about, was it Paramount after Cleopatra? The disaster, Fox after the sort of financial disaster of Cleopatra. So I'm starting listening to that. And then because of Andy, I picked up actually not one, not two, but 3 Richard Matheson books from the library.
Oh,
and I know
great.
You said this, but Lord in Heaven, can I just read this really quick? Because we talked about this. He did all these Twilight Zone episodes and everything, but his list of stories and novels, Duel, which was done by Steven Spielberg as his first film.
Yes.
I Am Legend, The Incredible Shrinking Man. He did Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. It was a story he wrote. It was also a Twilight Zone episode, one starring Shatner, one starring John Lithgow. But that's not it. Stir of Echoes, Somewhere in Time, and What Dreams May Come. So these are all by Richard Matheson. And I know I knew that, but I didn't know I knew it, if that makes sense.
Truly one of the least appreciated, foundational characters in the entire horror genre.
Yes. Yeah, it's fascinating. So I'm looking forward to reading his stories. This one of the story collections I got is called Button Button, which I think was The Box, was a movie with Cameron Diaz in it. So I'm excited about that. All right. Well, let's get to it. I want to talk about this movie. I don't think we have any warnings or anything for this thing. I think we're ready to
I don't think so.
Unleash producer Brad.
All right. The Mad Ghoul was released on November 12th, 1943. It's a Universal Pictures B movie that was often paired in a double bill with Son of Dracula. Other films from this year are For Whom the Bell Tolls, Casablanca, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and 2 movies we covered on Zombie Strains, I Walked with a Zombie and Revenge of the Zombies.
Yes.
Two great zombie movies.
Yeah.
James Hogan directed. This was his last film. He died from a heart attack the week before the release of The Mad Ghoul.
Oh, no.
He first started directing in 1920 and became a B-movie director. He directed 5 films in the Bulldog Drummond series and 6 Ellery Queen movies. Do you know who also directed a Bulldog Drummond film?
I don't know what that is, but no, I don't.
Bulldog Drummond was first, there were books. It was about a World War I vet who misses excitement and seeks excitement.
Okay. It wasn't Jesus, was it? Sorry, that's an inside baseball joke. Often when you say, youth pastors will say, who else was really cool?
That's right.
Jesus. Yeah.
The Jesus juke is what they call that.
Well, you caught me. I haven't been to church in a long time, so I didn't catch it.
Sorry. Who else directed a Bulldog?
Sidney Salkow, the director from The Last Man on Earth.
Aha.
Oh.
Interesting. I think, we forget sometimes how small a world Hollywood is. Even today, it's a pretty small world.
Brenda Weisberg and Paul Gongaline wrote the screenplay. Weisberg wrote over 30 films between 1938 and 1950, at which time she moved back to Phoenix. She then wrote, directed, and acted in stage productions at the Phoenix Little Theater. Gongaline started his career in the silent film era and transitioned to talkies and many B-movies. He wrote for many TV shows in the 50s and early 60s, and these were mostly Westerns like Tales of Wells Fargo and Annie Oakley.
I'm curious, the one place, like we had a conversation about the cinematography when we talked about Teenage Zombies. The one place early on where women did break through into movies is writing. This is not our first female writer. And in fact, Maniac was written by a woman.
Correct.
And we've had a number of movies like that. So
I'm intrigued. This is not the first time that Tales of Wells Fargo has come up. And was this a show about the adventures that mailmen had while traveling the Wild West?
I am going to add this to the list of questions Andy asks me from my research that I don't have an answer to because
good job.
I do not know. You have a talent, Andy.
Yeah, it's a gift.
I asked the dumb questions.
No, it's a good one. It keeps popping up. Milton Krasner was the cinematographer. He did over 100 films, was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, and won an Oscar for the 1955 film Three Coins in the Fountain.
Which is interesting because he also did All About Eve.
And he was a cinematographer on classic films All About Eve, The 7-Year Itch, and A Fear to Remember, How the West Was Won, and Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
Wow.
Which one of those, when he was on his deathbed, did he say that was it? Do we think it was Beneath the Planet of the Apes, or maybe An Affair to Remember? Who knows?
What does your heart tell you, John?
Hans Salter composed the music. He has nearly 200 composer credits, including many genre films. The Invisible Man Returns, The Mummy's Hand, The Wolfman, Son of Dracula, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. You get the picture.
This is not a question for you, but just a idle wondering about soundtracks. Like they have all these credits. Like now, when James Horner sort of recycles the same theme 10 times, like we all can say, like, boy, doesn't the Aliens music sound just like this tension music in Star Trek 2? But there weren't. I'm suspecting there weren't like movie soundtrack albums that people obsessively collected in the 1940s. So you could literally rip yourself off forever and no one would know.
Salter wrote a lot of stock music, and I believe he's not credited on screen. It's sort of after the fact people attach his name, and there are several other people who did some of the stock music that was used for this, but he gets most of the credit. So I think the stock music wouldn't find its way onto an album anyway.
Yeah.
But it is a good question.
Well, whatever the source of the music, the soundtrack goes wild at a couple of points in this film. So I look forward to talking about it.
Somebody's having a good time. Yeah, absolutely.
And the main thing I've learned from this podcast, John, is that you have a chip on your shoulder about James Horner's soundtracks.
Sorry. I love them, but also am like, James, you're brilliant. Do you have to keep doing the same thing over and over? Like, I'd have to listen to them all back to back. But I just remember a string in the 80s where I was like, I recognize that. Yep, I recognize that. It was a bit of a run.
But Mr. Horner, if you want to come on the show, all is forgiven.
Let me say, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and the Alien soundtrack are both brilliant. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Mr. Horner died in a plane crash a number of years ago, so it's not available.
Oh,
in a plane crash? Well,
yeah. I think he was flying it, if I remember.
What's that?
He was piloting it.
Oh, good.
Oh,
okay.
no.
That's a story for another time. We do have a movie to talk about. Sorry
this
to be
is taking a grim turn.
Yeah.
Man.
We need to get back
Brad,
to our
get
ghoul.
us out of this pit.
Yeah.
All right. The Ghoul's makeup was designed by Jack Pierce. Pierce is famous for designing and applying the makeup for the original Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy, and the Wolfman.
For the age, it's pretty good.
Yeah, he did all of the Universal monsters. That's his work.
Nice.
And in the 1928 silent film, The Man Who Laughs, he created the look for Gwyn Plain, the character, which is a laughing figure, which Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, and Bob Kane all say influenced their creation of the Joker.
Nice.
So if you've never seen that, it's Conrad Veidt is the actor, and he's got this. The character can't stop smiling, so it's like this permagrin that curls up to his ears, and it looks like the Joker, and it's stunning when you look at it.
Huh.
While on the Mad Ghoul, Pierce said the only direction he was given by the filmmakers was to make the ghoul look like a fresh cadaver.
I think he nailed it.
Yeah, by the standards of the time, he totally nailed it.
Yep.
Now let's go on to the cast. David Bruce stars as the Mad Ghoul. He usually received third or fourth billing in the movies he appeared in. He did a few Errol Flynn movies, which Bruce's daughter, the singer-songwriter Amanda McBroom, wrote a song about called Errol Flynn. And I'll play you a short clip.
In a hall, on a wall, in a house, in Reseda, there's a poster held up by 2 nails and a pin. It's my daddy, the actor, about to die with his boots on. He's the man standing up there beside Errol Flynn.
We listened to the whole thing before this podcast. It sounds like a show tune, but it's also very delightful.
I am like profoundly moved. Like, what is that? That's amazing.
It's a tribute to her father, and there's the line, he died with his boots on, because the last film he was in, Moving Violations, I think in 1976, he did his first scene and then died of a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, goodness.
So he died with his boots on.
I also note he was in Newt Rockney All-American, which I think means he acted with Ronald Reagan.
Yes, he was in that film too. Now, his daughter, Amanda McBroom, who wrote and sang that song, she is better known for writing the song The Rose, the song made famous by Bette Midler for the film The Rose.
Oh.
Wow.
Evelyn Ankers plays Isabel. She was known as Queen of the B-movies for her appearances in many horror films. She was in Son of Dracula, The Frozen Ghost, The Wolfman, The Ghost of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man's Revenge, and my favorite, Abbott and Costello's Hold That Ghost.
Nice.
That has a fantastic title. I just love it.
Well, you should watch it, Andy. It's really good. It's really fun.
It's. I think you think it's the best one, don't you, Brad? Or it's your favorite anyway.
Best favorite, I think, for that film, it works as both.
Yeah.
Now, Evelyn Ankers, she married Richard Dennings, who was the star of Creature with the Atom Brain, which we covered earlier this year.
Oh, okay.
George Zukos plays Dr. Morris, the mad scientist. He played many villains in his career. He played Moriarty opposite Basil Rathbone in the 1939 film The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And we saw him in the Bela Lugosi film Voodoo Man.
I remember. I was like, "Where have I seen him?" And he was the guy who was completely implausible as the Southern gas station attendant because of his accent. And
I didn't make that connection.
He played Nicholas,
but he also played the mystic
priest.
Sorcerer. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And he and Lugosi were trying to raise Lugosi's wife from the dead.
Yes. He was like the main priest, and Lugosi was like his acolyte or something.
You know, guys, I don't think any of us would say that was one of the better films we've watched, but I have more scenes from that film imprinted in my memory than most of the other films we've watched.
It was something.
Yeah.
All right. Turan Bey plays Eric, and that's Bey, B-E-Y. Eric, Isabel's new love interest. Bey was becoming a star when he appeared in The Mad Ghoul. Fans called him the Turkish Delight. He was born in Austria, but his mother was from Turkey.
And he was in Sequest.
He was born in Austria, but his mother was from Turkey. His career was paused in 1945 when he was drafted into the army. When he got out 18 months later in 1946, he was still under contract to Universal. He refused to do the film Universal had lined up for him, and so they sold his contract to a smaller film company. He only made 7 films between 1946 and 53. Then his career came to an abrupt halt. He went back to Austria, where he was born, and became both a photographer and stage director. But as a gauge of his popularity in his prime, I'll play this clip from season 4 of Get Smart.
Where'd you get the mummy?
It's mine. I bought it in an antique shop.
Oh, really? You know, I saw a movie once with Turan Bey, and he bought this mummy, and this mummy put a curse on him. Do you believe in curses, Chief?
No.
Well, maybe you don't, but Turan Bey never worked again.
That's pretty good.
Imagine going to fight to save the world from the Nazis, and then you come back and Universal still has a contract on you.
Yeah.
Well, what I found interesting, Wikipedia said that he didn't get drafted until Turkey entered the war. And then he was eligible for the draft, which I didn't know. I mean, you guys are the history guys. Is that a thing? He wasn't a U.S. citizen.
Was Turkey neutral until, I feel like Turkey just joined at the end, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
On the
I
right
think
side.
so.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more about the draft status, that as a non-citizen, he wasn't able to be drafted until his country of origin entered the war.
Which is interesting because there were German people and Japanese people in the American Army in the Second World War, but I couldn't say they were drafted or if they volunteered. So
That sounds just goofy enough, though, that might have been a rule.
yeah, because in the First World War there were like rules against Germans having military positions and stuff because they were worried about treachery. So I don't know. We make all kinds of silly rules, but in the Army, so who knows?
Well, Turhan did return to Hollywood and acting in the 1990s. He did do Sequest DSV in 1993, and he was also in 2 episodes of Babylon 5.
Nice.
Whoa. You don't know which ones, do you? I've been rewatching that show.
He played 2 different characters. He played a character called the Centauri Emperor, maybe?
Yeah. Okay.
And
Whoa.
the other one was a different character, so it wasn't continuity between the characters.
Okay. I'm a huge Babylon 5 fan. It's a little rough to watch these days, but it's so worth it if you can get through that first rough season.
One of my first jobs in LA, I was a PA for a production company that was I worked on a documentary about the Wild West, which is sort of an imitation of the Ken Burns one. At the same time, this company was filming the first season of Babylon 5.
Hey.
And I saw
All
artwork
right.
on the walls, and I even went to the set once or twice.
Really?
But I never watched the show. I wish I had.
It holds up if you can get through that first rough season.
Well, guys, that's what I have for this episode.
All right.
All right. Well, this is usually where we talk about the historical context into which this movie was released. I'm going to cop out here and say that you can go back to our 1940s episodes to learn what was happening in the world. I mean, the short version of us was we're smack in the middle of World War II, right?
Yeah.
So the tide has started to turn against the Axis. I've never been entirely sure if your average Joe and Jane in America understood this as kind of a turning point year, but I would like to think they probably had some sense of it. But I have something a little different for our historical context this time, and this is mostly for you, John.
Yes.
Before I get into it, I need you to tune your guitar, just get everything going.
Okay.
Listeners, I need to advise you to get ready. The urge to bop around whatever room or environment you're in is going to get extreme here. So, John, because we are revisiting the 40s, I need to share with you a little something that sounds like this.
Well, she comes from Tallahassee. She got a hi-fi chassis. Maybe looks a little sassy, but to me she's real classy. Yeah, my Tallahassee lassie down in FLA.
Okay.
Who is that?
So, John, why did I just play that tune by Freddie Cannon?
Because you like the phrase, Lassie slide your chassis over here that Bob Hope said?
Yeah, because our the best movie we watched, I think, in the 40s was probably Ghost Breakers.
Well, I Walk with a Zombie was in the 40s.
I Walk with Zombie was better. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. The most famous movie in the 40s was Ghost Breakers. And that had the immortal line, at least immortal in my head, shoot that chassis over to me, lassie, as a pickup line. So
Nice.
ever since, I have been haunted by the fact that in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in America, we have a long history of different terms being used to objectify women's bodies. But the use of the phrase chassis has just haunted me ever since we watched that movie.
Because now it would not be flattering because you're talking about like the chassis of your truck.
Yes, exactly. So I asked my wife if I referred to your body as a chassis, would you interpret that positively or negatively? And
How did that go?
She was not sure what to expect, and I think she wanted me to shut up. So what I have learned is that the use of the phrase chassis to refer to a woman's body, it started in the 1920s and went through the 40s, which is where this movie was released.
Yeah.
And it exactly paralleled the rise of the automotive industry in America, which is incredible. So,
yeah. Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
So I had to play that for you. Again, that's Freddie Cannon from 1959. If you have ever complained that the lyrics of modern songs are gibberish, I encourage you to Google the lyrics of that song. And then I just dare you to say that that was better.
Yeah.
But my last question for you, John, what else was really disturbing about those song lyrics?
They all rhyme in a really dumb way.
Well, they definitely do that. What I had in mind was that the final lyric is he refers to the state of Florida with the acronym FLA,
which is not correct.
Yeah, so here's a history quiz for you, both of you guys. What decade, or for bonus points, what year did the United States switch to referring to all states by a 2-letter acronym?
All right, so I think it's after 1959. I'm going to say Nixon did it. I'm going to say 1968.
You're close. It was in the early 1960s, and that is when we stopped referring to Florida as FLA and started referring to it as just plain old FL. So
wow. All
this
right.
song instantly went out of date, and everyone stopped listening to it.
I'm sure it was so of the time in 1959.
All right, so that's my historical context for this episode. Hey, everyone listening. You know, if you want to try out the line chassis on your significant other, please email or tweet us as to how that went, how that was received.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram and tell us how that went.
That's right. And without further ado, John, you are running the show today, so why don't you start us out with a 60-second overview of the Mad Ghoul?
Yeah, this is actually a pretty tight little narrative. So, George Zuko plays Dr. Morris. He is the main character in this movie, and what he is trying to do is perform experiments on some discoveries he has made about a gas in ancient Central America. This gas can make people appear dead, but then he can also reverse the process. So he is testing it on monkeys, and he hires our hero, one of his students, Ted Allison, to be his research assistant for the summer. Ted is dating Isabel, and he wants to get engaged with her. And Isabel's about to go on tour. She's a singer. So what happens is Ted gets exposed to this gas, and that turns him into the Mad Ghoul. And he can be restored to normal human behavior by a concoction made from the heart tissue of a human being. But what Dr. Morris discovers is that it's not permanent, so they must continuously find new specimens to make a serum to bring Ted back. However, Ted is unaware of this for most of the film because he blacks out while he's a zombie. And what the doctor is having him do is perform surgery on corpses to get their hearts without his knowledge, because he retains his medical skill as the ghoul. And these murders follow Isabel around, and everybody becomes suspicious of Isabel and her accompanist, Eric, who she's fallen in love with. The whole thing ends when Dr. Morris tries to take over Ted, murder everybody involved so nobody knows what happens, and at the very end, Dr. Morris is hoisted by his own petard, having been exposed to his own gas and becoming a ghoul himself. How's that sound?
That sounds great. And listeners, if you were like, wow, that's really complicated, that's the experience of watching this movie, because it makes you feel like you need to be taking notes on the different stages of zombification.
Yes, it does. But let's get into it. I want to start right with Dr. Morris, because one thing we forgot about the 40s that's absolutely delightful is this movie is 65 minutes long. And being 65 minutes long, we have no time to waste. So literally a minute and a half in, we're attending a lecture given by Dr. Morris, And he says the following about his studies.
The gas which the natives evolved had a diabolical power. Its effect was more frightful than anything conceived by modern science. We have lethal gases which are used for a definite purpose, to kill. The poison gas of the natives, too, had a definite purpose. But it did not bring death. It brought death in life, or, if you prefer, life in death.
So that pretty much lays it out. He's trying to invent a serum or a gas that makes that brings people back to life, essentially.
Can I just say that while he's delivering this lecture to his chemistry class, he's showing these slides of what are ostensibly like
Mayan or Aztec
glyphs, and they look really funny. Like they're like, John,
they're
if you
terrible.
or I, if we were assigned to draw some funny ancient looking glyphs about a zombie gas being released, this is what we would draw.
Yeah, they're not great, and they're a little laughable. Also, George Zucco, who plays Dr. Morris, has the ability to just sort of make everything sound the same. Like that's his tone almost all the time, what you just heard there. He's not like someone with a dynamic range, I guess I'll say. But yet, there's something about him that I can't quite put my finger on.
There's a certain control actors in this era, especially these villainous actors, had over their voices that just works for me. So Dr. Morris worked for me as a pretty sinister villain throughout this.
He does, because what happens is it comes across as almost psychopathic, because he states his evil plan in the same tone that he asked Ted over for dinner, right? There's not that lack of change in control makes him seem even more sinister in a way, because you never know when he's telling you the truth or what. So I responded to that too.
So one thing I noted about this is a chemistry class basically positing that these ancient Aztecs or whoever, I don't think the film even specifies what civilization they're talking about.
Right.
But had this fairly advanced control over chemistry, basically.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say I did a little bit of digging, and it is actually right about now that the idea that ancient civilizations were more advanced in terms of their science, their architecture, etc., rather than just being, quote, primitive, started to really take root, I think, in mainstream consciousness. So,
but we haven't gotten into like ancient aliens or super advanced.
No.
We're just admitting that they weren't simple primitives, that they could do sophisticated things.
Exactly. It hasn't gone out to the conspiracy end of the spectrum.
Okay.
But there is this like growing awareness of like, hey, these people actually kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe a little bit being exploited in a good way in this film.
Yes. And his favorite student, Ted Allison, comes up to him after the lecture, and he invites Ted to become his research assistant for the summer. And to celebrate, Ted is going to go over to Dr. Morris's house, and they're going to listen to Ted's fiancée, Isabel, on the radio and listen to her performance, because she's about to go on tour. And off they go. So Ted's a total sap. This is my favorite opening. So he's listening to the radio. Isabella's singing, and he's got this like wistful, happy face on. He looks like a total sap. It's absolutely delightful. By the way, the name of the city, as revealed in the scene, is University City. And
I Googled throughout, because this movie moves through a couple of different cities. I tried to Google to see where we were, but I had no success.
Yeah, they do names. There's Cranston. There's a couple others, but this city is University City. And so then we cut to see Isabel in the studio singing. Her accompanist Eric is there, and they make it completely obvious right out of the gate that Isabel really likes Eric. In fact, she keeps looking at him while she's singing and moving her head and face away from the microphone, which probably isn't great, but she's clearly smitten with him. So we already know Ted's in trouble, right? His fiancée is not interested in him. She loves Eric.
They aren't engaged, though.
They are not engaged. You're right. Ted's going to pop the question.
So did engagement work differently in the 40s? Because there are several references that suggest that they are engaged, but Ted has not yet asked her to marry him. Is that like...
Well, yeah, I think they're like going steady.
So they're just like a really serious couple in Ted's eyes, but
I
not
think so.
engaged yet?
Yes.
When Ted does ask her to marry him, just to skip ahead a little bit, he's asking her to marry him like the next day. So
yeah, I think if we go back to Valley of the Zombies, right? There was that couple at the beginning, and they knew they were going to get married, but they didn't have enough money to be engaged or married yet. So it's like they had decided.
That was The Walking Dead with Boris Karloff.
Was that The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
No, the Valley of the Zombies. Wasn't there a couple in the lab?
There was a couple, but the one that didn't have money, the man who was the assistant to the doctor had to keep working to earn money for the wedding.
Okay.
Was
yeah, you're right.
The Walking
You're
Dead.
right. So in any case, that's earlier than this, but it gives the sense that like you could have all the intentions, but unless you reached a certain point, you couldn't actually be engaged or married. That's just a theory I'm throwing out there.
yeah, I mean, the thing I took from this, and I probably shouldn't extrapolate to the entire mid-century from this B movie, but is that in the 1940s, if you were a guy, you could like assume that a woman was on the verge of marrying you based on what seems to be like a fairly casual friendship with the woman.
Yes, Ted seems to be wish casting a little bit. Yes. And Isabella, I don't know, she seemed pretty out of his league to me, so what do I know? So they listen to the concert, they celebrate it, and then Dr. Morris says, well, let's get to work. You're my summer intern. Let me show you the lab. And the first thing he shows him is a box with a dead monkey in it. But Dr. Morris says, hey, you think it's dead, but put this, listen with this stethoscope. And Ted can still hear the monkey's heart beating. Now, it's important to note at this point that Dr. Morris invited Ted to be his assistant because he's a pre-med student. So he has some medical, he's going to go into surgery. So he has medical background, and that's why he wants him.
The actual most important part of the scene is, did you catch the name of the monkey?
No, what is the monkey's name?
The monkey's name is Jocko.
Also, later, Jocko's reading a book while sitting on top of a water buffalo's head, which is also delightful.
Yes. I want to know what the last year was when any person or pet was named Jocko.
Yeah, there's actually a podcaster, a sort of alt-right podcaster, Jocko Winnick, which we don't need to get into. But
well, Michael Jackson by the tabloids was called Wacko Jacko to let her off.
There you go. So he talks to him about the experiment. He says, you know what? I talked about being on the verge of discovering this chemical in this process. Actually, I was sandbagging it. I've discovered it, and here it is. However, whenever you work with it, you have to wear this mask, right? You don't want to inhale it, which becomes important very soon. So he also shows him all of his different, and for all of his sophisticated sort of upper class tone, he says herbs instead of herbs. And he says it multiple times. And my note just simply says herbs in quotes. So, but what he wants Ted to do, he says, so the monkeys ingested this gas. It appears to be dead. However, I can make a serum if we extract another monkey's heart. So what I want you to do is perform surgery on this monkey, and I will prepare something that will revitalize Jocko. And Ted does it, but he doesn't feel great about it. And I want to play a clip here of Ted's reaction to it, because this, I think, is the most efficient mad scientist justifying himself bit we've ever had in a movie. This is just like pure distilled amoral mad scientist in like 30 seconds.
I can't help feeling a sense of evil in all this.
Moral concepts. I'm a scientist. To me, there is no good or evil, only true or false. I work with one, discard the other.
So that's it. So what he's not saying is that he's absolutely a psychopath. Like what happens next is it works. So Jocko comes back to life. Dr. Morris somehow invites himself on a date with Isabel and Ted.
Yes.
And clearly and so Ted and Isabel go to Dr. Morris's house. So Isabel comes over after the concert. They're all there. They're going to have dinner. And Ted is immediately worried that Isabel is drawing away. And I think everybody who's watching the movie knows she likes Ted, but she for some reason tells Dr. Morris, or no, that she likes Eric, but she tells Dr. Morris like, hey, I don't really love Ted and I don't know what to do about it. And Dr. Morris immediately tries to make moves on Isabel. He's like 30 years older than she is, and he's like, well, she's clearly going to fall in love with me.
In my notes, I just wrote down, these two creeps.
These two creeps.
So Ted thinks he's engaged to Isabel. Is it possible for a human to more explicitly demonstrate through body language that they're not interested in you than Isabel?
Yes, correct.
Like in this scene, she has lost interest in Ted, and Dr. Morris creeping on Isabel is like, I don't know how intentional this was, but it's a pretty uncomfortable scene.
Yes. And to make things matters worse, when they're discussing what she might do about this, Dr. Morris I didn't catch the clip, but he wistfully says, sometimes death itself solves these problems. Like, what? That should be a red flag for everybody here.
Yeah, he actually says something like, well, what if something were to happen to Ted?
Exactly.
Such that he has to break off the engagement with you.
Yes.
Because so these two guys are creeps, but Isabel can't bring herself to just tell poor Ted that she is just not interested in him. So
yes.
I mean, these are complex gender dynamics, but I feel like Isabel could have short-circuited a lot of the madness of this film by simply telling Ted early on, you know what, like, I'm just not that into you.
I call this the Harry Potter problem. Like, there's at least two of those books where, like, if Harry Potter had just talked to Dumbledore, like, the whole book wouldn't exist. This is this is the same here. So
hey John, I had a quick comment.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite, looking back at the other movies we've watched in this podcast, do you have a favorite mad scientist, like, I've transcended morality speech?
I think the speeches in Woman Eater are pretty good, and this guy reminds me of that guy. What's yours?
I was going to say the guy from Dr. Blood's Coffin.
Oh, that's really good too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've had some good ones. This is a very nice condensed
it's
version
concise.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Well,
straight to the point.
So if you hadn't figured it out by now, Dr. Morris is a psychopath, and what he does is he plans to expose Ted to the gas and involuntarily turn him into his test subject. So Ted gets locked in the lab with the gas, and Dr. Morris starts to play the piano, and Ted starts crying out, and Dr. Morris acts like he can't hear him. And then what happens to Ted, Andy? He collapses, and when he looks up,
yeah, he's a corpse. He's a zombie.
Yes, he's got this wrinkled old face. Like, it's pretty good makeup, actually.
Yes, it is. It's like this classic, like, deep shadows around his eyes and sort of that classic corpse makeup look that we've seen in a lot of these early movies.
Right.
Jack Pierce said he used green makeup on the face, which you can't see in the black and white, but it was green on the set.
It's genuinely tragic, I think, that there's not color in some of these films.
Yes.
Because it would, yeah. So can we pause for a minute and talk? I need a little bit of help understanding the mechanics of this zombie gas. So John, do I have this correct? So Dr. Morris has found this ancient formula for a gas that sort of kills you, but really puts you into a zombie-like suggestible state. Is that correct so far?
That is correct.
But he thinks he has a new twist to this formula, right? In that he thinks by gathering the hearts of other victims,
people.
You can bring people back out of the zombie state to a normal living state. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I question the purpose of this entire experiment. But
didn't you hear his speech? It doesn't matter. It's just science.
It's just science,
yes.
I guess. Okay.
Fool.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we have Zombie Ted now. Is anything you want to say about Zombie Ted, since this is a zombie podcast?
Well, what's interesting is he first turns and he looks like a corpse, but he progresses to look sort of more older and wrinklier as time goes on. It's actually a nice effect. But what happens?
His hair gets messed up too.
Yes,
every time he makes his transportation.
That's my favorite part. He transforms once later, and he was like, normally puts his head down, he brings his head up, and his hair is just messed up, even though like nothing happened. But But then Dr. Morris does something interesting, which is use hypnotic suggestion on Ted. So what's happening is Ted has some of his faculties, and he still has the skills he had.
Yes.
When he was fully conscious. So in order to, then Dr. Morris calls Isabel and says, "Oh, Ted can't meet you at the train. He's not feeling well." But you see on his desk is a headline about a dead lawyer being buried in the local cemetery. I forget the name of it. Fairview Cemetery.
Talk about a slow news day. This is like the full 64-point font headline on the front of the page is that this lawyer is getting buried.
Yes. So they go to Fairview Cemetery with the plan of digging this guy up, taking some of his heart material to create a serum that will undo this effect on Ted. So there's a lot of action. This is where the meat of our zombie stuff is. So
Yes.
Ted looks and is walking around like a zombie.
Yep.
And he has more faculties, but he still does not have. So when Dr. Morris tells him to cut out the corpse's heart, he just does it. So he has his skills, but no willpower.
Yeah, he retains his skills as a surgeon. Yeah, he's just been stripped of his volition. So this is a really classic zombie type, going all the way back to White Zombie, I would say.
Yes, and I think it's hilarious that he can perform heart surgery while a zombie. Also, my favorite bit in this scene is they go to the grave and there's still like flowers, and Dr. Morris just kicks them out of the way, like, get out of here. So that happens. But before we get back to the lab to see if this works on Ted, the police find the open grave. And this is another trope from the 40s that I've often found hilarious. Newspapermen are hanging around active crime scenes,
Yes.
talking to the cops. And actually, our sort of main detective isn't the policeman in this movie. It's going to be this newspaperman, Ken McClure. Whenever I hear that name, I think of I'm Troy McClure. But yes, so Ken McClure is our newspaperman who's going to investigate and ultimately crack the case of the Mad Ghoul. And he's actually the newspaperman who names him the Ghoul.
I forgot to mention in my lead into this that the actor who plays him is Robert Armstrong.
Yes.
And he was in King Kong.
Aha.
And he was one of the male leads. There's two. The one had the captain of the boat, and then the filmmaker who goes to the island looking for the monsters. He was the filmmaker.
Okay.
And he sort of has the most character of anybody in this movie. Like he has a little, like he's kind of funny, and he's a little distinctive. He's less flat than everybody else. He's fast talking. We'll hear some of his dialogue later. However, in the meantime, Dr. Morris has created this serum. He's given it to Ted, and Ted wakes up in bed, not recalling anything, but he kind of has some recollection. How does that manifest for him?
Yeah. So basically, the plan works. Dr. Morris has reduced Ted to a zombie state through the gas, and then having harvested a heart from a human corpse, he has brought Ted back out of the zombie state into a regular living Ted state.
Yes.
Right? And he remembers nothing except that he remembers a lot of terrifying nightmares. So it's kind of suggested that while he was in the zombie state, he was in sort of a fugue state.
Yes.
So it's stuck in his memory in a sort of hallucinatory way, but he doesn't have a clear memory of what happened, and he doesn't recognize that Dr. Morris has done this to him. He doesn't know he's been zombified.
Yeah. So what I find fascinating about the dynamic of this movie, and for most of the rest of the movie, or most of the rest of the killings that are going to come up, Dr. Morris lets Ted fall into the ghoul state and makes Ted do things like dig up bodies and murder people and cut out their hearts. But Ted is unaware of it. And so Dr. Morris is driving this whole thing and forcing Ted to do things, even though Ted does not know he's doing them. And I actually, when I reflect on that, is like a dynamic that's really diabolical.
It truly is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I kind of like that.
I have a few more thoughts about this when we get a little further in the movie. I'll do it. So, but at this point, Dr. Morris makes kind of an upsetting discovery. And what is that?
Yeah, but before we get there,
okay.
Dr. Morris planned everything so poorly that he forgot to clean the mud off Ted's shoes, and he has to like hide them behind his back so he can go wash them. But yes, so the news comes on about the grave robbing that has happened. Morris turns off the radio so Ted doesn't hear it because he doesn't want Ted to know what he's been doing. However, what happens to Jocko?
Well, yeah, Dr. Morris discovered that Jocko has died. He has,
over.
Quote, relapsed.
Yes.
So although Dr. Morris thought he had successfully made Jocko a zombie, brought him back to life, he's discovered that without the continual application of hearts, that the living state can't be maintained, and the zombie will, and the person will ultimately relapse back to their zombie state, which has really grim implications for Ted. So what we've learned, John, is that this antidote is temporary.
Yes.
So if Ted is going to stay alive, it's going to require a constant input of new hearts.
And this sets up the dynamic for the rest of the movie. So what's going to happen is, so here also Dr. Morris talks Ted into going to see Isabella together, and he sort of is manipulating Ted to do what he wants. So the dynamic here that persists is they follow Isabella on the road. Ted goes to see her performance. Then at night, they kill somebody or steal a corpse, get the serum, and then give the serum back to Ted. And they keep following Isabella around. Now, your whole point of like, what is the point of this is kind of drops in the middle here. Like why doesn't Dr. Morris just let him be a ghoul? Why does he? Is it because he wants to just keep doing science and that he thinks he can crack it? Or I don't even know.
Yeah.
Or he's a psychopath.
It's not clear. Yeah, he's a psychopath.
So they follow Isabella to Camden. We hear her sing. I'm going to bet she's not singing her own songs, but I don't know.
She is not.
Yeah, we shouldn't get into it here. There's a woman who is famous for singing most of the great musical, like West Side Story and Anna and the King.
From memory, it's Marnie Nixon.
Yeah, she dubbed all the actors. She dubbed Natalie Wood and everybody who was in those musicals back in the 40s and 50s. But clearly, Isabella's not, or the actress is not singing her own song. She sings beautifully, though.
Yeah, I thought about, we've watched several movies that are just excuses to put extended musical performances on the screen.
Yes.
I kind of enjoyed Isabel's performances on this one. So I was okay with this.
Yeah, it was mercifully short as well.
Yeah, that's true.
The singer was Lillian Cornell. That's the voice you hear.
Okay.
All right. We get a bit here where Eric wants Isabella to tell Ted, and she's still hesitating, and they go for a drink in Eric's dressing room. Or excuse me, Dr. Morris and Eric go for a drink in Eric's dressing room so Isabella can tell him.
I mean, it's worth saying here that, so I think Dr. Morris's motivation throughout this whole movie is to get Isabella.
Yes, that's what he's trying to do. Yeah, when he said Macked on her, we sort of didn't explain that now he's following her around because he wants her to love him. However, when Isabel's about to let Ted down easily, he collapses. Dr. Morris rushes in, and when Ted picks his head back up, he's the ghoul again. So, yes.
So it's kind of suggested that extreme stress can cause a person to lapse back into their zombie state. Is that right?
That's right. I think so.
Yeah.
So, back to the graveyard.
But wait. When he raises his head and is the ghoul, she does not see it.
No, she does not.
Correct. Yes.
Dr. Morris shushes everybody out of the room, and only he sees it.
Yeah.
So, sorry, yes. Back to the graveyard, and I couldn't help comparing this graveyard and the previous graveyard scene to Plan 9 from Outer Space. Like, this is not a big budget movie, and it looks really good here. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Yes.
However, they can't get in. They try to break into a crypt to steal a heart, but Night Watchman comes. So instead, they hit him over the head, and then they take his heart.
Yeah.
This is all Dr. Morris is doing. Ted is just doing what he's told. And this poor Night Watchman becomes the next victim.
Can I just say that I'm trying to remember where we were in levels of gruesomeness in the 40s.
Yeah, so
but it's like, this is a bloodless movie, but it's pretty gross. Like,
conceptually.
Because the idea of what's happening is pretty gross.
And but they cut away. So when he's going to perform surgery, we see Ted holding the scalpel and lowering his hand off screen and then cut. So
yes.
So the ideas are gruesome. The concepts are gruesome, but we don't see any of it.
Yeah. And is it common for graveyards to have night watchmen? I mean,
who knows? We certainly don't do that today. Well, we had another one in Last Man on Earth. Wasn't there a night watchman?
Oh, we've had all kinds of night watchmen in cemeteries. What,
No, it wasn't in Last Man on Earth. There was one before that. There was a night watchman who gets killed in the course of the
he gets like
crime.
brutally killed. I can't even remember the name, but it's a pretty gnarly kill.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a high mortality rate profession. Let's just put it that way.
Maybe there's no longer night watchmen because they all got killed. So
yes.
Okay, so here's what happens. So the newspaper man, Mr. McClure, Ken McClure, convinces there's a kind of funny scene where he convinces his editor to send him to follow the story in Camden and gives him an expense account. We don't need to go into the details, but so the newspaper man's going to head down to Camden to see what's going on.
Is his editor the woman in this scene?
No, I think she's a coworker of his.
Okay.
The editor is this guy who's trying to take this powder and he keeps interrupting him and then he blows
I didn't really
the powder
understand
away.
what was happening. Yeah. Okay,
so he's the
enough.
editor, convincing him, but this other woman is his peer, I think, and he's
it's
like,
the
wait,
40s. It's the 40s. So the female is in charge of reporting on society and music, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she solves the crime for him, by the way.
Yes,
She's the
eventually,
most
yes.
competent person in this entire film.
Yes. So Dr. Morris takes Isabel out to dinner. He starts macking on her again. Eric shows up. She tells Dr. Morris she loves Eric.
So by the way, this puts Eric on Dr. Morris's hit list.
Yes,
because
exactly.
remember, he wants Isabel.
Now, this is a little strange. So what happens is Dr. Morris tells Ted they're going to go home because he's unhappy with this development. But I think it's just for show, because what he does is Ted sends Eric a note saying they want to meet so that Eric will be by the stage door alone after the show that night. And when that happens, Dr. Morris convinces Ghoul Ted, hypnotic suggestion, and tells him that Eric is his enemy and that he must kill Eric, and gives him a gun and sends him off to kill Eric. But what happens before he can do that?
Well, so the answer is I actually don't know because I didn't understand this scene. So we get a cool scene with some genuinely good shadow work.
Yes, and a little building tension as Zombie Ted creeps towards Eric with his gun.
Yeah, and Zombie Ted is wielding a gun, which feels like it's a little bit out of place in our normal zombie lore, I guess. So it's kind of interesting. But before Zombie Ted can shoot and kill Eric, Isabel comes running out into the alley. It's suggested that she sees the creepy shadow of Ted,
yes,
but doesn't really make the connection. At any rate, it wrecks the assassination plot.
Yes. Now, what I'll say probably happened is Ted had enough sort of awareness of his actual life to realize he didn't want to kill Isabella.
Is that what happened?
That's what I think.
I missed that, but that makes sense. Yes. Poor Ted.
Yes. Or his instructions. He's like a computer in a Star Trek episode, and his instructions got complicated, so he just fizzed out and returned to the car. However, then what we get is a wonderful montage of all the murders, because what's happening is this one took place in Maryville, but as Isabella tours, Ted and Dr. Morris are following them around, and everywhere she goes, there's a murder. So there's
not just a murder, but a murder that involves the removal of the person's heart.
Yes, and there was a great scene between the newspaper man and a cop earlier where they discussed this. But anyway, so we get that montage, and then McClure and his peer, the woman who covers the society. Do we know that character's name?
I don't know, but she's legitimately the hero of this film.
Her name is Della.
Yeah, so she and McClure are talking, and they make this connection, right, between, hey, every city that Isabel's musical tour arrives in, there's a murder and a heart removal.
Yeah. Actually, we've got a clip 3. Let's hear clip 3 where she lays this out for McClure.
I'm glad I picked music.
Look, every place he operated, the heart was removed by a skilled hand, and with exactly the same technique.
Let me see that a minute. That's funny.
What's funny?
Well, Isabel Lewis was operating in these same towns, only she was tearing their hearts out with music.
You mean to say that your gal and my ghoul have been playing the same circuit?
That's it. One of life's gruesome little coincidences.
Say, what sort of a gal is she?
Take it easy, McClure. You're not suggesting anything so fantastic.
Hey, look, nothing's too fantastic for this case. When did she play those towns?
This gets curiouser and curiouser. She sang in every one of these towns at the same time as the crime was committed. But I still say...
I don't care what you say. This is the closest thing to a hot tip I've had, and I'm going to follow it. Where does she sing tomorrow?
Cranston, then back home.
That's good enough for me. I'm going to Cranston with you.
Can I just say, I love this style of dialogue.
Yes.
This like back and forth ping pong.
Patter.
Yeah, it's delightful.
So McClure goes to Cranston. He goes to see the town mortician. And what is his plan for catching the Mad Ghoul?
Yeah, so they have, noticing the pattern, they have figured out what town the next murder is going to take place in. So he sets up this trap basically for the Mad Ghoul by going to a funeral home and pretending to be a corpse in a coffin. And he waits for Morris and the Mad Ghoul to show up to steal his heart.
Yes, and he has a gun.
Yes.
And the only thing the mortician says to him is, "Don't mar the coffin." There is a nice transition where it cuts up to a candelabra with new candles that are burning, and then it transitions to them about burned halfway down. And who comes in but Dr. Morris with zombie Ted ready to cut out a heart?
Yes.
McClure pulls a gun on Dr. Morris, but he doesn't see Ted. And what's interesting is this is another great psychopathic line. I don't have a clip for it, but Dr. Morris says to McClure, "You don't understand. This is important to me." Like as if because it's important to me, the scientist, I'm going to do anything, including kill you, to accomplish my dream of ending death or whatever Dr. Morris's plan is. So,
yeah.
However, he didn't see Ted, and Ted jumps him from behind with the scalpel.
This scene requires some staggeringly bad situational awareness on McClure's part.
Not blocked that well. Yeah.
But it's a pretty great scene actually. And zombie Ted stabs him with a scalpel. It's not bloody or gruesome at all, but in your head you make it kind of nasty, I guess, in a good way.
Right. Now, unfortunately, the cops have made the wrong connection, and they go to see Isabel because they think Eric is the killer. How Eric can accompany her on the piano and kill somebody at the same time is not explained, but that's not important. What I wanted to point out in this scene is that they talk about schizophrenia.
Yes, I want to bring this up too.
Yeah, so talk to me about this. It's back to our scientific psychiatric terms being sort of threatening and scary.
Yeah, well, it's worth considering that we're really only a decade after Maniac, which, if you remember, made a huge deal of throwing lots of scary sounding sort of psychological diagnoses at the viewer.
Yes.
And so I did just a light amount of digging, and they say the words schizophrenia and schizophrenic several times in this film. This would have been a pretty new and scary term, I think, for most viewers, because this was about the time that the idea of schizophrenia was getting out into the mainstream.
Yes.
And specifically, and it's explicitly stated in this film, schizophrenia was portrayed in film and literature as, quote, the split personality.
Yes, which is not how we define it today.
No, that's not a correct understanding of schizophrenia, but it was a very, very powerful idea for a couple of decades.
Yeah.
So Psycho picks this up. It's present in a lot of what you would say kind of classic horror.
Well, the thing that invoked for me is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Ted's journey is actually very much like that. He is very much Dr. Jekyll during the day, and when he becomes the ghoul, he's Mr. Hyde. And that that became very clear to me. But after that happens, Isabella comes to see Dr. Morris and sort of explain her worries to him. However, what does Ted discover at this point? Ted finally discovers what's been going on when he's blacked out.
He remembers. There's a great phrase. I don't think we have an audio clip for it, but he says, I must have been in the pit of hell, he says.
Yes.
Because he's remembering what happened during his fugue states when he was in a zombie state.
Yes. So now Ted goes on the offensive. He has a plan.
Yeah. And Isabel, by the way, is upset by this, but is starting to wonder if maybe Ted is schizophrenic.
Yes. So, but Ted has a plan. He writes in non-Ghoul Ted, he writes a letter explaining what's been going on, and he puts it in his pocket. Meanwhile, the doc is getting his gun ready to what they've decided is, what the Dr. Morris has decided is, well, Eric has to go because I have to get Isabella. And if Isabella knows what's going on, maybe she has to go too. So he's going to wipe out people who might know what's going on to sort of bring an end to this using Ted the Ghoul.
Yes.
Before he can do that, though, Ted creates the same gas in the lab. He lets it flow free, and then he makes a sound, and Dr. Morris comes into the lab, but then Ted collapses. So Doctor doesn't realize yet that he's ingested the gas and is going to become a ghoul as well. But Ted knows. So at this point, the Doctor is going to unleash his final plan, and this is what he's going to have Ted do to Eric.
There's just one more task. Eric. Get up. Remember, you must first kill Eric, then yourself. Understand? First Eric, then yourself.
First Eric, and myself.
Yes.
That soundtrack in the background, by the way, just kind of cracks me up.
Yeah, it's delightful. So this is Dr. Morris's plan. He's going to get Isabel. He's going to wipe out the other shooters. He's going to solve his problem because Eric is technically the murderer, and if he's dead, he can't tell anybody about what's been going on. Dr. Morris doesn't know he's written the letter. However, he hands a gun to Ted, and then he realizes he's ingested the fumes, and he collapses.
Yes.
Now, Ted, so we cut to Isabella and Eric performing at the local theater. Ted walks on stage. He raises the gun to shoot Eric. Isabel screams. However, there's cops in the audience because they're watching Eric, and they shoot Ted before he can kill Eric. And the cops are like, "Do you know this man?" And she's like, "Yes." She's very upset, and the cop finds the note, and they read the note where Ted has explained everything that's happening.
Yes.
And so they realize it's not Isabel, it's not Eric, it was this Dr. Morris. But then we cut to Dr. Morris in a graveyard trying to dig up a fresh grave by hand, and he looks up, and he's become the ghoul now. Yeah. However, we get this amazing voiceover from Ted, which is a repeat of a line, sort of a repeat from an earlier or a rephrasing of an earlier line, and it sounds like this.
Ted. It's no use, Dr. Morris. I'm sending this evil back into the darkness. There's nothing left of it now but you and me and death.
The end.
I love it. I've got a huge grin on my face right now, by the way. That's fun.
That ending was absolutely delightful. So that's it. So let's knock this thing out. Let's do our questions. Let's jump right into
absolutely.
it.
Okay, John, in the Mad Ghoul, is there a hero party?
Yes, I think so. I mean, Isabel and Eric, I guess, would qualify.
Okay.
There's more of a villain party, to be honest.
Actually, that is an interesting observation. So
you could add the two reporters.
Yeah, the reporters could be part of the hero party.
That's true, too.
And one of them gets killed. Yep.
Yeah, well, how does the party do?
Well, poor Ted dies. Ken McClure, the newspaper man, dies. And Dr. Morris dies.
Yes, and specifically, two of them are killed by becoming zombies.
Yes.
Basically.
Yep.
All right. What kind of a zombie are we dealing with? What's the strain?
So this is one of those combinations of it's a science zombie, but the hypnotic suggestion part feels like a mesmerized or hypnotized zombie. So it sort of has both components. And the science is not actually invented by modern science. It's a rediscovery of ancient science. So again, it feels more like Woman Eater than anything else we've seen.
It does, or going back even further to, is it Revolt of the Zombies? Which is the one that's in Cambodia?
That's Revolt of the Zombies.
Yeah, I mean, so there is this kind of lingering idea that ancient cultures had the recipe for zombies.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And why did the doctor in that film create the zombies? Do you remember?
In this film?
In Revolt.
In Revolt, he created it to make an army of zombies to take over the world.
No, he wanted the woman to love him. And that's using the zombies to try and achieve that. Much like this film, Dr. Morris was using the zombie to get to Isabel.
It's really a love story about Isabel and a psychopath.
An awful lot of these 30s and 40s zombie movies feature as the villain's motivation just getting the girl.
Yeah, this is a love quadrangle where one of them is a accompanist, two of them are ghouls, and one of them is a psychopath. And poor Isabella has to choose which. She chooses the guy who doesn't die.
Think how profoundly this idea has vanished by the time we get to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Like there's just no trace of this anymore.
No, there's no, and it's not very heroic, but we'll get to that. It's our characters are also less clearly delineated between good and evil.
So there's no zombie horde in this film. How are the zombies destroyed or killed, John?
They can be shot. So you can just kill them normally. However, they eventually sort of run out of juice in their ghoul state if they don't get refreshers of the serum. So I suppose that's how Dr. Morris dies at the end.
Yes. Is the world threatened in this movie?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's another one of these 30s and 40s small scale love triangle or love rectangle type of dramas.
Yeah, it is about sort of serial murders, which is threatening, but it's not like an apocalypse type of threatening.
Yep. What's the kill count in this movie, and how does it compare to other movies we've seen to date?
I think it's pretty small. I think there's a lot because they run around killing people in various towns. So
yeah, it's mostly off screen,
yes,
but it's certainly implied.
Well,
yes.
I think there's only 4 because most of the hearts they take are from dead bodies.
Oh, okay. You're right.
I think the 4 are Ted, Morris, McClure, and the graveyard guardian.
Okay.
So a fairly low kill count, you would say.
I would say.
Considering our last movie, Last Man on Earth, most of the world died.
Yeah, that was billions of people.
All right, how fast are the zombies in this movie? Are they subhuman speed, regular human speed, or are they super hyper speed?
They are subhuman speed. These are slow zombies. Ted is almost human speed, but he's not.
Are there any new zombie elements? And this is a little tricky because we're going back in time here, right? So back in the 40s.
Is this prior to Invisible Invaders?
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll say yes, because this, his zombie makeup and the way he walks zombie-like sort of, if it's before Invisible Invaders, then it feels like the first good, we sort of pegged Invisible Invaders as the first good zombie makeup, but this actually is before that.
Yes, and it's a pretty good looking zombie.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so John, let's move on. Early at the beginning of this podcast, you identified 4 pillars of the zombie film genre, and let's talk about which, if any of those pillars are achieved by the Mad Ghoul.
Yes.
John, in the Mad Ghoul, is there an apocalypse?
No apocalypse.
Is there contagion?
I'm going to say no, though you do catch it. It is airborne, but it's this special chemical you have to inhale. So I'll say no, because one zombie can't turn another person into a zombie.
Yeah, I do think this is an intriguing half step towards the idea of contagion, but we are not there yet. So.
Yeah.
Are there tough moral choices in this film?
So I would like to say yes, because ultimately Ted has to make a choice to sacrifice himself. He knows he can't beat Dr. Morris, so he writes the note. So I think, and he knows he's going to die. So I think I'm going to argue that's kind of a tough moral choice. He has to make a choice about the woman he loves, and it's not an easy choice because he's a zombie. Are you buying any of what I'm putting down, or am I stretching?
And no, I mean, it's a stretch, but I buy it. And I'll say that this is interesting because is this our only movie so far where the zombie has made the tough moral choice?
Oh, maybe. And also, he's choosing to sacrifice himself.
Yes.
So interesting. Yeah.
I mean, certainly it's a staple of modern zombie movie moral choices that when you're bitten and you know you're going to become a zombie, you make the choice to sacrifice yourself in some sort of epic way, right? We saw that in Dawn of the Dead from 2004. And I mean, it's in a lot of films. So maybe a little bit of a predecessor to that.
Yeah.
And lastly, does this movie feature loved ones turning against you?
Yes, it does. Ted is a loved one, and he's clearly, I don't know if he loves Eric, but he's clearly intimidating and willing to kill people he knows at the suggestion of Dr. Morris.
This is a clear yes to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, normally I would ask you a bunch of questions about horror in the 60s, but as we moved back, I don't think we had these questions in the 40s.
No, I don't think we were sharp enough to be asking decade-specific questions back in the 1940s.
I don't think, yeah. Is there anything you want to mention that jumped out at you about the culture and time that this movie feels like?
I mean, just that this movie does feel like a product of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to this from the 60s, where we are getting films that are starting to feel pretty modern.
Yeah.
We are jumping back to these like 1 hour long little like morality stage plays.
Yes.
And I mean, I enjoy this a lot. I enjoyed this movie. It's got like, there's something charming about the like clear arcs in this film.
I would say it's a tight little thriller. Like it is slightly complex, but it's also like, it moves from beat to beat and story beat, and the narrative progresses pretty well. Like it's not sloppy. It's a competent B movie. If all of our zombie movies were this good, we'd have less emotional scars.
Agreed. I mean, this is a movie where I feel like the zombie elements overcomplicated a plot that didn't need all of them.
Yeah.
Because I had a hard time figuring out like the mechanics of the gas and the antidote and stuff. I mean, what this movie just this is a split personality Jekyll and Hyde movie. And they did an enormous amount of zombie related work to explain why the split personality was happening. I think I would have been okay with a lot less of this stuff. But this is at the same time, it lead to a lot of fun zombie stuff, which is why I'm doing this podcast, so I can't complain.
Yeah, and I want to say I do like what it does set up that works for me is the manipulation of the zombie master and the lack of awareness on the zombie's part of the crimes being committed. I thought that was a delicious little dynamic that was horrifying in its own right.
Agreed. Yeah, and I enjoyed Dr. Morris as a villain. He's a hateful villain.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a jerk, and I appreciate that. So,
yes.
So, hey, John, let's close with our traditional 3 questions that we ask. First, would you and I survive in the world of the Mad Ghoul?
If I cross Dr. Morris, I think he would get me. So I'll say, if I'm smart and stay out of it, which isn't really allowed anymore. So I'd say yes. Dr. Morris is such a crazy psychopath. He'd get me. He'd have Ted kill me if I interfered with him.
But he's a charismatic mad scientist.
Yes.
So he is. We've seen a lot of mad scientists in this podcast. Normally, they are disturbed individuals that you would not go within 10 feet of.
Right.
But Dr. Morris, until the end of this movie, remains kind of implanted in his social circle and is seen by everyone around him as a sympathetic character. So
if I were to make a comparison, it's kind of like pre-Silence of the Lambs Hannibal Lecter. He has class and charm, and he draws people to him, and then he turns out to be a psychopath. So,
which is all a way of saying that, he would get me. I'm a sucker for this. So.
Yep.
John, is this a zombie movie or is this a movie with zombies in it?
Well, I think our move back in time has taken us back to the time of movies with zombies in it.
Yeah,
because like you said earlier, like we could have had this plot and the zombies actually a little bit of a overcomplication.
Yes.
Yep.
Lastly, John, do you recommend this movie first to people generally as a movie they should just go and see because it's a great film? They should take their significant other on Valentine's Day to see it. And secondly, do you recommend this specifically to our legion of zombie-loving listeners?
So I'll say yes to both, with a caveat on the first one that if you like 40s movies, this is a nice little 40s movie. If you like black and white 40s horror movies, it's worth your time.
Yeah.
For zombie stuff, I like the makeup here. He's called a ghoul, but he acts like a zombie. So I feel like this is an early example of this stuff done well in a way that we would recognize. So I'll say yes.
I think I'd agree. I'll give a soft yes to both. I don't think this is a critical piece in the evolution of zombie cinema.
Okay. Yeah.
So what I do find intriguing about this movie zombie-wise is just that, at some point, the idea that you can enter and leave or be restored from a zombie state will vanish from zombie cinema.
Yes.
And I mean, sometime between now, like the 40s and the 60s, this idea will go away. So it feels like a little bit of an interesting little like kind of offshoot that kind of hit a dead end and got discarded, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
and
kind of
it's
like
interesting to think if this like persisted to, I mean, lots of modern zombie movies play on people's hope that there could be a cure that could bring their loved ones back out of the zombie state.
Right.
But in all modern zombie movies, that is a false hope.
Yes.
Here in the 40s, that was not a false hope. It was something that might be able to happen. And that is interesting to me.
Yeah, like Zombies on Broadway is another example where you could be a zombie and then not be a zombie. It would wear off. So, yeah. Yeah.
And White Zombie, Revolt of the Zombies, King of the Zombies.
All the zombies.
All right. So we've reached the scariest part of each episode, and that is where producer Brad reveals to me and John what we're going to be watching.
I don't even know where we are anymore. Like, we're back in the 40s? Should we be in the 60s? Where are we going? I have no idea.
Brad, we are flailing around. Ground us.
We have one more film to watch that we missed.
Uh-oh.
But we are going to the 50s, 1951.
Okay.
Here is the poster.
Okay.
The Man from Planet X.
Yes. Okay, this looks good. I'm charmed by this poster.
Yes.
There is a blurb that says, "The weirdest visitor the Earth has ever seen." And we see a genuinely goofy looking person in a spacesuit.
They look like an alien.
Yeah, think like, Plan 9 from Outer Space spacesuit here. And there's what I assume is a UFO in the background.
Yeah.
And he is menacing a woman who is not scantily clad. She is quite modestly attired.
And she doesn't look that scared.
No, she doesn't. She looks curious or maybe a little annoyed. And in the background, we see sort of a swampy, dilapidated landscape, I guess.
With a house in the background.
So the Man from Planet X.
And I appreciate a good painted poster as well. That's pretty nice.
For sure.
Yeah.
Any of the names ring a bell on this one, John or Brad?
Other than United Artists, I'm not recognizing.
Do you recognize William Shallert?
No.
I don't.
If you watch TV in the 70s, if you watch the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, he played Nancy Drew's father.
Nice.
And he was the actor who I think was in all those, was it the drugstore commercials? There was some ad that he was in for years that aired over and over again. You will recognize him when you watch this movie.
Okay. We'll try to dig up the ad. After I watch the movie, we can try to dig it up between now and then.
Okay. And what year was this from again, Brad? 51?
51.
Well, I enjoyed our time back in the 40s. I hope I enjoy our time back in the 50s as well.
Yes.
So everybody, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate us in iTunes or Spotify. It really helps us out. Our audience is growing. We love you all. We could just use a few more reviews. So join us next episode We're going to go on a brief holiday hiatus. We will be returning in January with The Man from Planet X. You've been listening to Zombie Strains. We'll be back next episode to talk about another zombie movie. If you enjoyed our podcast, please take a moment to rate us in your podcast app of choice. Tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Zombie Strains. All of this helps like-minded people find the show. See you next time.